Okay, so from our mock 2022, okay, paper 2, question 4, part B brings functions into the question. Okay, so we are looking at functions here, and they give us a function in the question. Now, we know that coordinate geometry of the line is a paper 2 topic, but functions is a paper 1 topic. And it is important to remember that your topics can overlap, and they can, like, we can call topics, let's say, a paper 2 topic or a paper 1 topic, but they can come up on different papers where they're not expected. Okay, so your coordinate geometry, this might look like coordinate geometry. It is really kind of tying into functions here, but even if it looks like coordinate geometry, okay, it is still something that we know how to do. Okay, so here this first question says find the coordinates of the point C. Okay, so we've been given a function here. Okay, just as a quick recap on our function stuff, why is this function a U shape? Okay, well, remember, we're always looking at the sign that's in front of the x squared, and the number in front of the x squared. Okay, so the sign of that. If it's positive, we have a positive face, okay, graph, so a smiley face or a U shape. And if that was a negative, okay, if that was a negative there, what we would have is a negative guy, okay, a sad face graph or an N shape. So here we are expecting a U shape, and it says find the coordinates of the point C, the point where the function crosses the y-axis. So a few things about crossing the y-axis, okay. First thing is, from our functions chapter, we can bring in the idea of crossing the y-axis, because I know that any point along this y-axis here, okay, all these points have something in common, and that is their x coordinate. Okay, so if it is on the y-axis, that means that the x coordinate is 0. Okay, so that is the idea of how to solve this in the functions chapter. Okay, that we can let the x value here equal to 0 because they say it crosses the y-axis. Okay, we do have other methods of solving this as well. Other chapters that we would have already looked at, we've looked at coordinate geometry. Okay, so coordinate geometry of a straight line. Remember, we saw a graph was y equals mx plus c. Okay, c being the constant at the end, and also being, and it says it in the graph, in the log tables, the y-intercept. Okay, so the y-intercept there is the constant at the end that doesn't have an x involved with it. Okay, so that's another way we can do it. Okay, the y-intercept is where it crosses the y-axis. And another way we could do it is if we were to look at this as a pattern in our sequences and series stuff. We know what a quadratic looks like, what shape it takes or what form it comes in, and that is f of x is ax squared plus bx plus c, okay, and c is the value of the 0th term, okay, i.e. when x is equal to 0. Okay, so it is here, it is kind of connecting, even though it might look like it's a coordinate geometry line question. Okay, you could also complete this using your sequences and series stuff, or ideally here, if you spotted just the functions form of doing this, okay, then it just, I suppose it's it makes sense because we are really looking at functions. Okay, but there is 2 different ways to do it, and basically I already know what the y-intercept is going to be. I know it's the constant at the end, which is -4. Okay, but I'm expecting that when I go through your guys' exams, you're going to have spotted the functions way of doing this, which is letting x equal to 0. Okay, so I have a function, f of x is 2x squared minus 7x minus 4. Okay, and I am going to let f be filled in with x equal to 0. So it's 2 times 0 squared, so 2 times 0, minus 7 times 0 minus 4. Okay, do I know what 0 squared is? Do I know that that's equal to 0? Yes. But am I going to try and bring that into this question here now? Okay, am I going to try and take a shortcut and think like, oh, I don't need to write that squared because I know that 0 squared is 0. No, I'm not going to take those shortcuts in this step, okay? In this step, all I am doing is I am subbing in and doing none of the maths. Okay, I'm always going to do that when I'm subbing something in. Okay, show it subbed in and none of the maths done. And then in the next step, you can do the maths, okay, to get -4. Okay, but in this first step, I sub it in and I don't try and do out the maths. So it doesn't just want the y value of the y-intercept, okay, it says it wants the actual point C, the full point. Okay, so here is C. So it wants the point. We've figured out already that the x coordinate is 0. Okay, so that x coordinate comes first, and then the y coordinate is -4. So remember, those coordinates go in alphabetical order, x, comma, y, and you have to have the brackets around them. Okay, that's how we write a point. It has brackets around it. Okay, that's not brackets saying it's unnecessary. That's brackets saying that's how I write a point out. Find the coordinates of the points A and B, the points where the function crosses the x-axis. Okay, so just like in the last one, the y-axis, okay, crosses the y-axis means that x is 0. Okay, crosses the x-axis means that I let y equal 0. Okay, all these points here, what do they all have in common? Okay, that y-axis value is 0. Okay, another way of saying y is 0, f of x is equal to 0. Okay, so f of x from up here was 2x squared minus 7x minus 4. Okay, and now I know that that is equal to 0. And I need to figure out what is x, okay? I'm expecting 2 points. They literally tell me here that there's going to be 2 points. And in my graph up here, they told me there's 2 points. Okay, but I also know it because I have a quadratic here. And I know that I get 2 points when I solve a quadratic. I know I get 2 values of x. Okay, so I need to do this out as a quadratic. I can use the -b formula, or I can factorize and solve. Now, if I'm going to factorize and solve, remember, there is a number in front of my x squared, so it's not my really quick way of factorizing. Okay, I need to start by saying, what is that first part multiplied by the last number? Okay, what's in front of the x squared multiplied by the constant at the end? Okay, so my guide number is 2 times a -4, so I am listing what multiplies together to give me -8. Okay, so I'm going to list out what multiplies together to give me -8. And when I'm listing these, okay, so they're multiplying together to give me a minus, so the signs have to be different. So I might do, let's say, -1 and a +8, or I could do a 1 and a -8. Okay, they have to add to give me this middle number here, the -7. So the bigger number is going to be a minus, so that they add to give me a minus. So these are the numbers that I'm going to use, 1 and -8. That way, they're going to add to give me -7. Okay, so my next step in this is to replace this -7x with something that it's equal to in terms of these. Okay, so I'm going to do a +1x and a -8x. Okay, and then I'm going to carry down the rest, so -4 and is equal to 0. And then I can finish factorizing this left-hand side by doing my grouping 4 terms method. Okay, so I can group the first 2 parts together and factorize with highest common factor. So take out an x and be left with 2x plus 1. Okay, and over here I can do the same thing. Okay, the sign that I usually take out for these 2 is the sign from the middle. So a minus, and then they have a 4 in common. And I'll be left with 2x plus 1. Okay, see the way inside the 2 brackets is the same. Okay, that means I'm on the right track. And I can open up my 2 sets of brackets to finish it. Okay, I'll put what was outside the two brackets in one bracket together. So an x minus 4 and a 2x plus 1. Okay, carry down my equals 0. And then here I have two brackets multiplying together to give me 0, which means I can let each bracket or each thing that's multiplying equal to 0. Okay, if two things multiply together to give me 0, that means either this is 0 or this is 0. Okay, so I'm going to figure it out for both of them. So I can let the first bracket equal to 0, so x minus 4 is 0, and I'm going to have the second bracket, the 2x plus 1, being 0 as well. Okay, so solve for x in both of these cases. So I'll get x is 4, and over here, x is minus 1 over 2. Okay, so I have solved for my two x values. And it doesn't just want the x values, it wants the actual points. Okay, so again here, it wants a and b. I've found my y coordinate as 0. So I just need to write the 2 points. Okay, so the point here when x is 4 is the point 4, 0. So remember, they go in alphabetical order. So the x part first, and over here an x value of minus a half. So minus a half, comma, and then the y value of 0. So those are my 2 points. Okay, which is which? Well, this one is minus a half. Okay, so it must be a, because a is further over to the left, so it's a smaller number on the x-axis, whereas b is much more positive over here. Okay, so this here is going to be my point A, and this is point B. Okay, the last part says find the slope of the tangent. Okay, what do we think of when we think of slope? Okay, again, it's not coordinate geometry here, okay? It's not paper 2. I've been doing functions. What do we always pair up with functions? Calculus, okay? This, we are bringing calculus into this, okay? The slope. If the slope didn't give it away, the idea of the slope of the tangent, okay? Slope of the tangent, we've seen this so many times over when we done calculus. Slope of a tangent, what does that mean? It just means get the derivative. Okay, so find the slope of the tangent. Okay, so straight away I'm going to show I know that that's the first derivative. Okay, I'm going to write this down. I want to show that I know what I'm doing. So I am literally writing here slope equals the first derivative. Okay, for doing that I've gotten 3 out of 10 marks for writing down that I know to get the first derivative. Okay, now I need to actually get the first derivative. So I need to get the first derivative. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to write down my function first. So f of x is equal to, just so that I don't get confused in my next line. Okay, so f of x is equal to 2x squared minus 7x minus 4. Okay, and then that way f dash of x. Okay, and remember our rule is multiply by the power and then reduce the power by 1. Okay, so multiply by the power and reduce the power by 1. So x to the power of 1 or just x. Okay, this one, the minus 7x. Okay, remember if in the original the x doesn't have a power. Okay, and we went through this in class and why this happens. If in the original the x doesn't show a power, it just is the number that ends up being carried down. Okay, and here in the original, if there's a number without an x, it doesn't get carried down at all. Okay, so this is my first derivative there. Okay, now, great, I have gotten the first derivative. That is absolutely brilliant. I have gotten 8 out of 10 marks. They did say at the point where x is equal to 3. Okay, so that's just my slope at any point. And they actually asked specifically for put in that x is 3. Okay, so all I need to do is sub in there for x as 3. Okay, so it's 12 minus 7, which is 5. Okay, the weirdest thing about this question is how much space they gave you for such a quick question in comparison to up here when you have to solve a full quadratic. Like, that's the only thing that I would say could throw you off in this question. Other than that, it is all stuff that you've seen before.